Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, I'm Clay Douglas. And there's a few subjects that I want to cover today. One is there is a war going on here, and it's a war against white Christians. And it's been going on for a lot of years. A lot of years, folks. And diversity, well, that just means less white people. Multiculturalism just means less white people. Immigration means less white people. Race mixing means less white people. And white Americans are under assault. And with the re-election of President Barack Obama, black racism is on the rise. There's no better example of black racism than when actor Jamie Foxx hosted Saturday Night Live and joked about his new film, Django Unchained. I get free, I save my wife, and I kill all the white people in the movie. How great is that? He went on to say, my President Obama is back up in the White House for 4 more years. How black is that? How dumb is that? Just imagine if a white actor joked about how much he enjoyed shooting black people, and what if the same actor gloated about how great it is to have a white president like George W. Bush back in the White House? The NAACP, the Godless Congressional Black Caucus, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and the rest of the liberals would be marching in the street. Fox was already in hot water for remarks he made weeks prior when he called Obama our Lord and Savior. When Fox was questioned about his racist remarks, he didn't admit he was wrong. Instead, he doubled down and blamed it on the whites. In an interview with Vibe magazine, Fox said, every single thing in my life is built around race. Because as black folks, we're always sensitive as a black person is always racial. He went on to say how he had to act different among white folks. But the minute I leave my house, I got to put on my other jacket and say, hey, Thomas, Julian, and Greg, I got to be a certain person. But when I get home, my other homies are like, how was your day? Well, I only had to be white for 8 hours today. I only had to be white for... or I only had to be white for 4 hours. Fox's remarks may be surprising and even shocking to white Americans, but his sentiments are exactly the way most blacks see life. In their anger, most black Americans see everything through the prism of race. They see all whites as being racist, and their state of resentment, they're extremely sensitive to any slights perceived or real. It's not skin color, but the spirit of anger that has polluted the hearts and minds of blacks. Now, the NAACP attacked me. They attacked Larry Pratt. They've attacked people time and time again. And this is all part of something that's happening. I'm going to do some clips here, and I also want to tell you that about marijuana. One of the things that I've been put down about here is that I'm pro-marijuana. Oh, and I'm pro-gun, and I'm pro-white. I'm white, I'm Texan. Yeah, I like whites and I like Texas. So what? Big Cal in the chat room says that shit hit the fan in Illinois today. They want a ban on all semi-automatic handguns, rifles, shotguns. They also want pump rifles and shotguns. Plus, that's all a part of what's been happening since the 30s. It was the 30s when they outlawed marijuana in this country. They pushed, in the 30s, they pushed alcohol, made it illegal, and set up all of your breweries and your bootleggers. It's been happening, and I'd like to ask Ronald Reagan to introduce this film here. This film that I want to play some clips out of.
Hello. In the traditional motion picture story, the villains are usually defeated. The ending is a happy one. I can make no such promise for the picture you're about to watch. The story isn't over. You and the audience are part of the conflict.
More human beings were slaughtered in the 20th century than all previous centuries combined.
Now, this is what I've been telling you all along, folks. Somebody's put this into a movie. It's called Grinding America Down. That is the agenda, and what a perfect title for it. Because Agenda 21 is happening in every town across America here. They're setting you up for it. This is the whole UN, the whole communist agenda, folks. It's a communist agenda. And they are going to try to, but it won't just stop. It won't just stop with the guns. That's the next thing. They are going to get the guns. And it's the Jews back there, the Feinsteins, that, yes, we're going to take them, America. We're going to take them. But it won't stop there. For instance, they are outing gun owners. And at Christmas, as Christmas was approaching, the Journal News of White Plains, New York, decided to take on Scrooge's personality of mean-spiritedness. They printed an interactive map that included the names and address of pistol permit holders in Westchester and Rockland County. Each red dot represented an individual gun owner. They were able to obtain this information because New York state law allows it to be part of the public record. So, American Thinker was able to interview a few of these gun owners about they felt about being outed by this newspaper. And clicking randomly on the dots, American Thinker found the gun owners make up a wide range of people. Some gun owners contracted, did not want to talk. Some did not even know they'd been outed. Some spoke but did not want their name to be published. Others spoke on record. One person, a retired police officer, told American Thinker that the Journal News had put himself and his family in danger from the criminals he had arrested because they now know where he lives. Another person preferred to... so remember what I've told you. Remember what I've told you. They go after people in three classes. The marijuana, the outlawing of hemp in this country was the first attack on our farmers. The second, they attacked the intelligentsia. That's people like me, professors like Dr. Jake Wade, that have enough intelligence and enough education to understand what this communist agenda is and are not afraid to speak about it. And third, they go after the veterans and the law enforcement officers that are still loyal to the old regime. That means people like Sheriff Mack, the sheriff's posse that he has put together, the sheriff's organization that he's put together, and they want to support the Constitution against the federal government if you have to. Now, another person preferred to remain anonymous because of her profession. She classifies herself as a liberal Democrat except on the gun issue, which she referred to herself as a conservative. Again, the liberals and conservatives are two wings of the same bird. They control both of them. They finance both sides. Republicans, Democrats, there ain't no difference. You're either an American or you're not, or you're a communist. Now, after finding out from a friend that her name had been published, she felt angry, intruded on and invaded. Now I have to worry if someone will try to rob us to get our guns. Owning a gun was important since my husband has always owned rifles and wanted a handgun. If there was to be a gun in my home, I felt I should know how to use it. We went through the training course and the permit application together. In fact, gaining membership in the shooting club, we had to take a competency and accuracy test. I believe the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Banning guns will not solve the problem about killings. If guns are not available, people will use more dangerous weapons, like bombs. Now, Timothy McVeigh didn't have a gun, did he? And they are setting you up here. The White House, the Obama administration eased away Wednesday for illegal immigrants who are immediate relatives of American citizens to apply for permanent residency, a change that could affect as many as 1 million of the estimated 11 million immigrants unlawfully in the U.S. A new rule issued by the Department of Homeland Security, which is not your friend, and they're after white Americans. They aim to reduce the time illegals are separated from their American families while seeking legal status. Beginning March 4th, when the changes go into effect, illegal immigrants who can demonstrate that time apart from American spouse, child, or parent would create extreme hardship can start the application process for a legal visit without leaving the U.S. All right, that's just what they're setting up. That's what they're setting up. And now let's... There are also, it's not just Senator Dianne Feinstein and New York City's Michael Bloomberg stomping for legislation to outlaw our guns and ammo with no grandfather rights. New York Times ran an op-ed on December 30th by Georgetown constitutional law professor Louis Michael Seidman saying it was time to scrap the Constitution. Seidman said that the U.S. Constitution was archaic, idiosyncratic, and downright evil, responsible for a dysfunctional government. He urged disobedience as a revolutionary American way to bring about a new unspecified legal form of foundation for government. He said America's founding fathers were behind the times and increasingly irrelevant to today's needs. Donald Call in the Des Moines Register was another screed December 30th. There's repeal the Second Amendment. And Call even suggested that the National Rifle Association should be outlawed and gun owners objecting to gun confiscation should be killed. Call said legislators dissenting against such draconian measures should be dragged behind a pickup truck. He said he was all for prying the guns from their cold, dead fingers. Now, major publishers and broadcasters are spreading this shrill, lethal hatred. There are only two examples among many. They play upon emotions rather than logic to whip unwitting dupes in a frenzied mobocracy. The elites are hell-bent on leather for denying us any means of defending ourselves against deranged lunatics, common criminals, and the coming tyranny of a fascist empire's iron-fisted dictator. When evil crashes through your door, a gun in the hand is always better than a cop on the phone, even if the evil is in a state uniform, as it was in Nazi Germany, in Stalin's USSR, and Mao's Red China, or Pol Pot's Cambodia. If you're paying attention, you know the same socialist evil is brewing here in America, whether it is national socialism of the fascists, or the intentional international socialist of the communists. It's all bad. To constitute a pincher movement driving us into the enslaving New World Order in which our Constitution and our Christian American heritage of truth, justice, and liberty for all is stone cold dead. Most Democrats and Republicans are socialists of one kind or another, which is why Libertarian Congressman Ron Paul was stonewalled at every turn. And again, it ain't going to be just guns. England is considering a ban on kitchen knives. The slippery slope is usually considered to be a fallacious type of argument. By invoking the slippery slope, you're essentially saying that if one thing occurs at the top of this metaphorical slope, You have no other option but to slide down further. That being said, though it's often categorized with other fallacious argumentation like ad hominem, slippery slope is actually applicable to some things. A West Middlesex University Hospital Group contends that violent crime is increasing in Great Britain and kitchen knives are used in approximately half of all the stabbings. The team claims that many of the knife attacks are impulsive action. A kitchen knife is too convenient of a weapon. Apparently, in the wake of a rise in violent crime where the primary weapon used is long kitchen knives, a group of doctors is attempting to get these type of knives banned. That would be similar to measures taken in the 90s that put heavy restrictions on a gun. In England, gun restrictions are so harsh that self-defense post-1969 is no longer a good enough reason to own a gun. According to a Wall Street Journal, owning a pistol could get you up to 10 years in prison in the UK. With all these gun restrictions, you'd think England would be a much safer place, at least according to liberal logic. Well, not so much. Once again, according to Wall Street Journal, within a decade of the handgun ban and the confiscation of handguns from registered owner, crime with handguns had doubled, according to British government crime reports. Gun crime, though not a serious problem in the past, now is. Armed street gangs have some British police carrying guns for the first time. So again, that is happening, folks. Now, they are setting you up for this, and they've been doing it for a long time.
We're talking congressional record, 135 million dead. Their entire purpose was to detach our culture from any moral anchors whatsoever.
Communist agenda.
You look at the changes in America since 1960, perhaps. The whole culture's been transformed.
They're coming out of the belief that the village should raise the child. The village means the government.
They have deliberately destroyed the American family, understanding that's the foundational block that built a society.
We've come from Norman Rockwell's America to, Hugh Hefner's America.
If we lose the Judeo-Christian framework, we're lost forever.
And by the way, that is another lie. This gentleman, and while he may be right here and well-intentioned, I've told you that if you refer to yourself as a Judeo-Christian, you might as well refer to yourself as a satanic Christian. I've read the Talmud, I've read the protocols of the elders of Zion, I know what their plans are for you. I know about the rabbis and I've told you about this, the rabbis that say, some call it communism, we call it Judaism for the masses. So even on the Patriot, even when they're trying to tell you, this film is trying to tell you about the communist agenda, maybe they don't even mention Agenda 21, but they're trying to tell you about the change agents, of which Obama is certainly one. He may not mention that in this film. I have not reviewed this film, so I'm reviewing it now with you.
The left wants you to think that the cultural changes that have taken place in America since the 1960s have done nothing but progress us forward toward a brave new world.
They look at what holds society together, they understand it, but they don't want that. They want change, and they will subvert and rot every good and decent thing we believe in, because they have a vision for a new society, and that must mean the replacement of the old society.
That's right. If you're loyal to the Constitution, if you're a police officer or soldier, they are targeting you. And right now, with the cliffs, abysses, and deadlines on every front, New York is shaping up to be a dangerous place for justice. Consider the pressure to do something on gun violence. Spurred by the horrific slaughter in Newtown, President Obama has tasked his administration to get serious about the legislation before the end of next month. This time, words need to lead to action. But what action? On gun control, a battle royal is shaping up. On mental illness, action may come more easily, but it may be the wrong part. We still don't know if the gunman in Connecticut suffered from mental illness, pharmaceuticals, but the killers of 4 firefighters in Webster, New York was clearly disturbed. In a note he left, he pledged to burn down the neighborhood and do what I do best, killing people. The movement invites politicians and pundits who are jockeying for limelight and scared of the NRA to call for increased mental health screening and treatment, even of the mandatory sort. PBS broadcast a piece this week about California Laura's Law, which provides court-ordered outpatient treatment for the seriously mentally ill. It was passed in 2002, but generally shunned for civil liberties reasons. Nationwide, 43 other states have laws permitting some form of involuntary outpatient commitment, and PBS reported the recent killings have raised the issue of forcing the mentally ill into treatment. Author-activist David Spade, a professor of law at the University of Seattle, says that incidents like Virginia Tech and Newtown shootings are often followed by calls for increasing surveillance and involuntary treatment of people with mental illness. This is not surprising. For decades we've been told that locking more people up and building more walls and metal detectors and installing more cops and cameras will make us safer, so we're used to that response. The problem is it does not work, and instead people who are targeted are not those who are actually most dangerous, but those who are already considered suspicious in a culture that's racist, xenophobic, and anti-immigrant. We have a long history in the U.S. of giving people involuntary medical treatments and using mental institutions to lock up people who are different or threatening social norms. And of course, Eustace Mullins talked about that.
This film will show that the brave new world they seek is nothing more than the failed policies and ideologies of the communism that enslaved over 1/3 of the world's population during the 20th century. It will show that most people on the left aren't communist, just the useful idiots Lenin spoke of, being used to promote a socialist agenda, which is the first and necessary step toward communism.
They basically try to say that the state itself is ultimate, that there's no law higher than the state, and if there's no law higher than the state, there's no appeal against it.
History has proven beyond any doubt that the free enterprise that freedom produces provides more for anyone willing to work than any other system. So why would the left still be pushing their socialist agenda on us? I mean, it's really just microwave communism. There's only two possibilities. They're either ignorant or they're evil. From my investigation over the last 2 years into what has caused America's drastic decline, I'm sorry to say the left won't be able to use the ignorant card. They've left too much evidence of their agenda in their books, articles, and speeches. No, America has an enemy that is getting very close to accomplishing its plan of destroying the greatest country in all world history.
Once people figure it out, they're going to do what people everywhere do. They're going to start protesting, and they're going to start revolting. And when that happens, that's when the powers that be feel threatened, and they use the power that they have.
And that's exactly what we're facing. I've told you before, you know, it's almost like the medical marijuana. You sign up for the medical marijuana, you go to your doctor, you get a prescription, they know you smoke, they know where you live, they know you are reported. The same thing will happen with guns. What happened to marijuana in the 30s? What happened to hemp? They made a byproduct of the hemp plant into a drug, which, by the way, has never killed anyone. And, oh, guess where they're growing it now? Guess where they've got a whole lab set up, a whole special thing set up in a safe country. Now, it's still illegal in that country, but evidently they can export it to the rest of the world. The rest of the world. And Israel. That's right. They have decided that, and this from the New York Times, Tikkun Olam, a medical marijuana farm in Israel, blends the high-tech and spiritual. Among the rows of plants growing in a government-approved medical marijuana farm in Galilee Hills in northern Israel, one strain is said to have the strongest psychoactive effect of any cannabis in the world. Another rich in anti-inflammatory properties will not get you high at all. And marijuana is illegal in Israel, but farms like this at a secret location near the city of Safed are at the cutting edge of the legality, benefits, and risk of medical cannabis. Its staff members wear white lab coats. Its growing facilities are fitted with state-of-the-art equipment for controlling light and humidity, and its grounds are protected by security cameras and guards. But in addition to the high-tech air atmosphere, there's a spiritual one. The plantation, Israel's largest and most established medical marijuana farm, is now a thriving commercial enterprise, is imbued with a higher sense of purpose, reflected by the age-old center of mysticism, as well as by its name, Tikkun Olam, a reference to the Jewish concept of repairing or healing the world. There is an on-site synagogue and a trailer where a sweet aroma of freshly harvested cannabis infuses the atmosphere, and halfway up a wooded hill side overlooking the farm, a blue dome of rabbinical sage and his wife, a blue dome tomb of a rabbinic sage and his wife. In United States, medical marijuana exists in 18 states but remains illegal under federal law. In Israel, the law defines marijuana as an illegal and dangerous drug, and there's still no legislation regulating its use for medicinal purposes. Yet Israel's Ministry of Health issues special licenses that allows thousands of patients to receive medical marijuana, and some government officials are now promoting the country's advances in the field as an example of its pioneering and innovation. I hope we will overcome the legal obstacles for Tikkun Olam and other companies, said Yuli Edelstein, the Minister of Public Diplomacy and Diaspora Affairs. He told journalists in a recent new government-sponsored tour of the farm that part of Israel's effort to brand itself as something beyond the conflict zone, in addition to helping the sick, the effort could be helpful for explaining what we're about in this country. And Israelis have been at the vanguard of research into the medicinal properties of cannabis for years. And the reason they're keeping it's the Jews, the Israelis, that are the reason it's being kept illegal. Because they are dealing the drugs here. And I've told you that as soon as when a man can come up to you, man with a badge can come up to you and say, "What is that marijuana I smell? Is that marijuana in your pocket? You're gonna go to jail. You're gonna go to jail." You live in a police state, and now you